let's do a couple of questions here. Then I also wanted to invite the audience if you have questions that you have for this team. We rushed a bit through some of these examples, but I just want to have an understanding first from a consumer point of view. What's your experience into what is the most effective way of talking to these consumers? Is that pre-arrival? Is the during their stay at the lunch? And how do you manage that connection with consumers? What are the kind of the triggers that you're utilizing to kind of manage that relationship?
Absolutely. Yep. I think pre-arrival is definitely the way forward for us. I think people are ready to receive messaging. They're in a nervous mode. And so we actually see pre-departure emails, for example, we can achieve up to a 60% open rate. And then that starts to decline as we get into the like a Wi-Fi trigger email down to the low 20s, which is still impressive, I think, because as long as the value exchange is always bringing in important information about what you can take through security at the same time as retail messaging. I think in terms of channels, I showed a push notification there. I think that's not in the space that display advertising or email occupies. There's a big difference there, but we'll use notifications more for a service point of view in future rather than a marketing way.
All right, then from an Acxiom point of view, how do you help Heathrow Airport here to integrate that data in creating those triggers that then dictate the way you run the campaigns?
Part of our job working with Heathrow is really to find those signals and be able to bring it into that single customer view. So, not having a siloed database for parking, not having a siloed database for Heathrow Express, bring that all together so that becomes actionable data. So if someone does book parking 2 weeks in advance, then Simon and his team can start using that. And again, with Heathrow Express, if someone's logging into the Wi-Fi on Heathrow Express, we know there's a benefit. If we can just start that conversation half an hour prior to them getting to the airport, again, it's that value exchange that they can do that. So it's about how Acxiom can facilitate picking up the signals of intent that someone's going to come into Heathrow. And again, Simon talked about working with third-party data like a DAR or travel booking. So it's that data sharing that enables us to start the conversation that means we can deliver better value for Heathrow and their customers.
Excellent. So you've talked about a bit the engagement metrics, that you have higher engagement pre-departure and all of that. How do you actually assess the closure rate? I mean, you want at the end of the day drive more revenue as well on your retail. So what are the mechanisms for you to understand whether you are driving that closure?
So passenger experience is relatively simple. We subscribe to an independent audit of all global airports, and they track perception across all attributes of the experience. When we get into the marketing side, aside from engagement, which is obviously very, very helpful, there is no silver bullet because we don't own a closed loop for much of it. All our retailers operate on different EPOS systems, but that's where the likes of the loyalty scheme comes in, because that's creating that closed loop. We can see the trigger goes out, the transaction comes in, and we hold back a 10% control group for all our communications, and then we can extrapolate the value of all our communications from that and place it across our whole suite.
Excellent. So one more question from me, and then I would like to hear from the audience as well. From the data intelligence that you're gathering, how have you used it to do segmentation on the profile of travelers, and where you have found that there is more kind of success rate for the business you're driving?
So it's very much a frequency recency model, and whilst we have segments for across our surface access like parking and Heathrow Express, it's the real value comes in retail. So we're constantly re-segmenting the base dynamically every day, and that's what's driving all of our communications. So all of the Wi-Fi emails, etc., they're all based on that segmentation. So it's core, and that's also how we report success and movement between segments.
Excellent. So I think we have time for questions from the audience. Is there any question out there for this gentleman? There's one there.
So obviously the data set that you're curating is good for improving the passenger experience, but have you thought of leveraging it and selling it to airlines, hotels, other adjacent industries that might be interested in passenger type data?
Absolutely. I think we are looking at value exchanges with airlines. Clearly, there's information that we hold whether the passengers are knowledgeable at the airport, so that whilst they may not have traveled with airline A, they may have traveled with airline B, and that's information we'll be able to hold. And the value exchange we would want from the airline is clear. But it's in things like location. That's where they're using our beacon registry and being able to provide that back to the airlines to be able to then say, I know that passenger is late for the gate. I can actually tell you that he's still in the pub at gate number 4 is really where we are working towards that and make some great strides there.
And I think one of the other things on that regarding sort of airline data or hotels, or whether it's the concessions that are in there, Simon touched on this safe haven concept, and that's where we can anomalize data and then match it, and that can lead to data monetization or data insight without people actually giving away the PII of their customers. It's just enabling a matching and the movement of data around, as I said, for insight or potentially monetization as well. So that's certainly on the roadmap about the more and more data that we can bring in.
All right, I already got the signal, so I want to thank you for the presentation. And we're going to have a breakout session on this topic tomorrow anyway, so we can follow on your questions. Thanks.